Trailblaze lands some decent chip damage, and here comes Triple Legacy. Shadow Machamp Boston farms up, throws the payback, unfortunately losing CMP. We're now going to be forced to burn the final Protect Shield. Metagross surely survives any one move, but it's time for payback. Welcome back to the channel. Buckle up, because today is going to be one hell of a ride. As you can see on the screen, this team is absolutely ridiculous. It's going to bamboozle everyone, myself included. Where do we start? Shadow Machamp's pretty spicy in MLP. However, Boston isn't running a regular variant of Shadow Machamp. He's running Triple Legacy. We've got Karate Chop. Is Karate Chop any good? Not particularly, but it does generate energy, slightly quicker than Counter, and we're definitely going to need it, as we got our two Legacy moves, the Hail Mary of Stone Edge and the Hail Mary of Payback. Water types in this meta are insanely common, especially on the save switch. Stuff like Gyarados, which is PvPoke's #1 ranked pick, Primarina and even Golisopod, and my god, do we have one hell of an anti-meta pick with our level 51 Shadow Ampharos. If I was to summarise MLP in just a few words, I'd say it's essentially dragons, fairies and steel types. So you know what would core break that? A steel and ice type. The only one I can think of is going to be Alaoln Sandslash. Unfortunately, it only maxes out at 2700 and something CP. So is it going to be able to get the job done? Well, there's only one way to find out. Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we lead Shadow Machamp into Excadrill. The opponent doesn't know we're on Karate Chop, so that matchup isn't all that bad for them. They save switch into Gyarados. Out comes Ampharos. Ampharos goes to the one shield, counter farm all the way down. Back out comes Excadrill. The opponent shields, fearful of the Focus Blast. We don't got it, but you've always got to fake it till you make it. Boston now able to fire off the Trailblaze and boosted. That does a very respectable amount of damage. Get an Excadrill down below half health. Boston tanks the Rock Slide, which does secure the knockup. Back out comes Machamp. The opponent pivots out into Togekiss, and here comes Sonic the Hedgehog. And the opponent says, fuck this, the algorithm is absolutely BS, and they're going to concede the match. Heading into the next one. We lead Shadow Machamp into Magnezone. If this is a regular variant of Shadow Machamp, we'd be in a very dominant situation, as Counter is one of the best quick moves in the game, and it'd be landing for a lot of damage, and we would be able to outpace to the cross chops. Boston continues to farm up and makes a savage avalanche catch onto Alolan Sandslash. That's double resisted and hardly does anything. The opponent answers our Sandslash save switch with Metagross, and that is where this drill run coverage is going to come in clutch. Boston fires off the drill run, forcing a Protect Shield. The opponent looks for the Bullet Punch farm down, but Sonic says no, reaches drill run #2, and that actually lands for some very respectable chip damage. This Metagross is completely loaded. I'd send out Ampharos and call the opponent's going to blind Meteor Mash. Boston actually sends out Shadow Machamp, looks to fire off the payback, but loses CMP. Boston shields up the Meteor Mash, returns fire with the payback. Does the opponent respect the damage? Oh, boo, Mr. Opponent. The opponent then sends out Magnezone. We send out Ampharos and get a very nice resisted Bullet Punch farm down. Back out comes Metagross, and Metagross is going to be straight in and straight out. Brutal Swing secures the knockout. The opponent's final Pokemon is Dragonite. Let's go. Please tell me we get to Stone Edge this. We fire off the Brutal Swing. The opponent needs to commit to the full Dragon Breath farm down. The opponent gets scared. Look to dump that energy. Dragon Claw secures the knockout. Boston looks to reach the Stone Edge, and we make it. It's going to be high Dragonite, bye Dragonite. GG's, and thanks for playing. What a win. Boston, you sir, never disappoint. In the next battle, we see Shadow Machamp into the Steel Mole. If this is a regular variant of Shadow Machamp, this would be so dominant. Machamp is able to one shield, counter farm all the way down. But you can see Karate Chop just isn't it. It really isn't doing all that much damage. The opponent fires off the drill run, getting us into the red. Boston returns fire with the payback, forcing a Protect Shield. I cannot believe it, but Excadrill is actually going to Mudshot farm us down, and we're already looking in shambles. This Steel Mole is going to reach double drill run, so Boston's going to be forced to double shield. So we've lost lead, and we're now all shields down. Boston does get the Powder Snow farm down, and we've got a very nice running start. The opponent then sends out Garchomp. Are you serious, trainer? Double weak to Ice. Boston fires off the Ice Punch, forcing the opponent's final Protect Shield. Sandslash able to outpace to the second Ice Punch. Ice Punch doesn't quite knock out, but stay in school, kids, and learn to count. Boston, recognising the opponent must be so weak to Ice, completely sacks Ampharos, using it as a 700,000 Stardust investment third shield. The opponent then sends out Togekiss. Sandslash running out of HP. We need this Ice Punch to do 50% of the remaining health, which it does. I cannot quite believe it, but Boston is going to pull off a miracle dub. Get that Togekiss off my screen. And Boston picks up the dub. GG's and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see a dreadful lead. We see the save switch into Alaoln Sandslash, drawing out Metagross. Boston farms up, throws the drill run. We've seen 2 drill runs will knock out the first one, forces a protect shield, and Boston has obtained himself shield advantage. The opponent then play to the CMP type, but Boston happy to invest the protect shield, looking to make a play at taking back switch. Hopefully the opponent let this drill run through, which they do. Again, if we're on counter, this Metagross will be in a perfect range to come in and counter farm down. Can we Karate Chop farm down? I don't know, but I think that's going to be the play. We need to Karate Chop farm down and look to Stone Edge Gyarados. Boston sends out Machamp, recognising he's going to be unable to get the Karate Chop farm down. Catches the resisted Meteor Mash onto Ampharos. Ampharos is then met with Ursaluna. Oof. Trailblaze is going to hit for super effective, but Ursaluna is one of the biggest stat product mon in the league. And see, a non-stab Trailblaze doesn't do all that much damage. It looks like the opponent committing to the full tackle farm down. Boston fires off the brutal swing. The opponent chooses not to invest that protect shield. Boston in a tough position. We correctly shield up the high horsepower. Boston gets the full Karate Chop farm down. There's no shot Boston wins this. There is no shot. We need to be super careful that the opponent has got Metagross as a third shield. Boston full sends the first Stone Edge. Stone Edge goes unshielded. Can Boston Karate Chop farm down? No, we can't. And unfortunately, we're going to get taken out with the Aqua Tail and take a heartbreaking loss. But very good attempt. Heading into the next battle, we see the UFO in the lead. The opponent instantly pivot out into Annihilate. Oof, how the hell do we beat Annihilate on this team? It looks like this ape is rocking Ice Punch, and that Ice Punch does far more damage than you'd like. Machamp, a very glassy. Boston farms up, fires off the payback. Payback goes unshielded. The opponent probably expecting to fully wall Machamp. What a surprise, trainer. We're running that payback for this exact situation. Boston then pivots into Ampharos, shields up the Ice Punch. I think we probably could have farmed down in 3, but it looks like Boston just wants to get Ape off the screen, and why not? Back out comes Magnezone, and interestingly this opponent is running Spark. Most people opt for Volt Switch, but I do like a 2-turn move. I think it makes Magnezone somewhat more flexible. The opponent is going to need to Wild Charge to get rid of Ampharos. The opponent fires off the Mirror Shot, and Trainer that just isn't going to get the job done. We then reach the next Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing forces a Protect Shield. The opponent's still going to be unable to Spark Farm us down, and they're going to be forced to throw again. The opponent again fire off the Mirror Shot, and this time it does secure the knockout. Back out comes Machamp. We see the opponent pivot into Togekiss, and let's go Sonic. Boston is going to strike first, firing off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch goes unshielded, getting Togekiss into the red. Boston just looking to get Togekiss out of here, fires off the next Ice Punch immediately. The opponent completely sacked Togekiss, putting all their hopes and dreams on the back of Magnezone. Boston just going straight Ice Punch all the way. Can they Spark Farm us down? Ice Punch forces the final Protect Shield. Come on, Sonic, make a move. No. The opponent heartbreakingly Spark Farm us down, and they're going to be able to outpace Machamp. Boston, recognising Magnezone has too much energy, just elects to tank the charge move, and we're going to take a heartbreaking loss. In the next battle, dreadful lead. Yet another Togekiss, a Pokemon I've nicknamed Togepiss. I hate all nonsense, toxic tap-tap charmers, especially that fluffy cloud. We save switch into Ampharos. The opponent switches out fairly late into Excadrill. Boston doesn't farm up to a potential Focus Blast. So the opponent tanks the Trailblaze. We've now vamped the Power Attack, so the boosted Brutal Swing does force a Protect Shield. The opponent farms up a boatload of energy before firing off a charge move. Drill Run, of course, easily going to knock out from that range. I imagine we get knocked out from full health, if I'm being honest. Boston now sends out Machamp, and Machamp's going to be instantly greeted with the Drill Run. Boston tanks the damage, and you can see Excadrill hits insanely hard. This is actually a situation where having Karate Chop is going to be favourable. So we're going to get more farm. We'll have the Stone Edge ready for the returning Togekiss. The opponent, not wanting it to happen, look to snipe with Togekiss. Boston shows cat-like reflexes and sends out Sonic. This isn't enough for an Aura Spear or Flamethrower. The opponent fires off the Ancient Power, and that did far more than you would hope. But we are only 2700 CP. Boston throws one Powder Snow and the Ice Punch for optimal fast move time. And Ice Punch isn't lethal, and we get the farm down. The opponent then send out Garchomp. Garchomp instantly greeted with the Ice Punch. The first one forces the opponent's final Protect Shield. The opponent looks for the Mud Shot farm down. Sonic says no, reaches the double super effective Ice Punch. We then see the wham bam combo play pivot out into Machamp. Boston can easily shield up whatever the opponent throws. This payback gonna be massive overkill. I would say get that Garchomp out of here, but it's pretty rude when they're that low. Boston going to be able to karate chop farm down, and we're going to pick up the dub as Sonic is still alive. Nicely done. Heading into the next one. We see Machamp into Godzilla. The opponent safe switches into Dragonite, and here comes Sonic. Double super effective damage. Boston able to outpace to the Ice Punch, forcing a Protect Shield. This is now the bait game. How big's Boston's going as we look to call the bait? No! The opponent nukes us through 2 shields. Boston doing his very best Jamie Finn impersonation. I love to call baits, but this opponent was not baiting. Calling baits when you got 2 Protect Shields is very high risk, very high reward, and unfortunately our risk did not pay off. You can see Dragonite now doing an absolute number on our team. We send out Ampharos. Even Ampharos has now found itself deep into the red before we Volt Switch farm down. Back out comes T-Tar. T-Tar greeted with the Trailblaze, and we see the pivot back into Machamp, drawing out Metagross. Metagross probably expecting to survive any one move. Boston farms up, fires off the payback, but loses CMP. Boston shields up the Meteor Mash. The question is going to be, does the opponent respect the damage? Get that Metagross off my screen. Back up comes Tyranitar, and the opponent is going to concede the match. A classic case of fuck about and find out. Heading into the next battle, we see Vaporeon in the lead. I actually think Vaporeon has some play in this meta. Although, are you going to see it very often? Probably not. Boston farms up, fires off the Stone Edge. Stone Edge lands for some big damage. Likewise, Aqua Tail this season has been buffed. Boston not interested in shielding up Machamp. Machamp left deep into the red. We then see the pivot into Ampharos. The opponent going to fire off one further Aqua Tail. And Aqua Tail, again, does some decent chip damage. The opponent sends out Gyarados. Trainer, are you serious, Boston? Fires off the Trailblaze, vamping up his attack. These Volt Switches now doing absurd damage. Ampharos very deep in the red, but Boston has the Brutal Swing bank, so I don't dislike this shield. Boston even throws one further Volt Switch. Holy cow, I thought that Waterfall would knock us out, but Boston knows his IVs and leaves minimal farm on Ampharos. Back out comes Vaporeon. Vaporeon able to Water Gun farm down before the Volt Switch registers. Back out comes Machamp. Machamp very close to a move. Unfortunately, Togekiss does get the Charm Down, farm down, but in the one shield, this is going to be G to the G's. Trainer, just top left, because if you want that smoke, you're about to get it. The opponent tanks the first move. They must recognise the game's over, and finally they're going to concede the match. Togekiss, get fucking wrecked. Heading into the next battle, yet another Togekiss. We see the save switch into Ampharos, drawing out the big thick boy Snorlax. I'd like to see Boston throw 5 Volt Switches, which is done. Looking to fake a potential Focus Blast. You always got to fake it till you make it and look to gain some kind of advantage in the mid game. Does the opponent shield fearful of the Focus Blast? No, they don't. Snorlax pretty tick, but I don't think they'd appreciate a potential Focus Blast. But undeterred, Boston fires off the boosted Trailblaze, gain himself shield advantage in the mid game. Boston actually looking to make a play at switch. We shield up the Body Slam, return fire with a double boosted Brutal Swing. Is this going to be enough to knock out? Brutal Swing does secure the knockout. Ampharos, you monster. Boston can now realign his Pokemon, and the opponent's probably thinking, what the hell is on my screen, as we send out Sonic the Hedgehog. Boston farms up, loses CMP, but we tank the Ancient Power on the chin and return fire with the Ice Punch. Ice Punch won't be lethal, but will get him into the red. The opponent then sends out Skeledirge, and in the one shield, this is so bad. The only win con for us is sneaking through the Stone Edge or payback. Boston shields up the Disarming Voice. I'm going to go for that Hail Mary. Does the opponent respect the damage? Stone Edge goes shielded. Oh man, this is GG's. Drill Run won't be lethal. I certainly know that because I've been using Shadow Wall Rain and even an Earthquake from the Walrus that gets to over 3000 CP, doesn't knock out. You can see this Drill Run is super effective. It doesn't do anywhere near enough damage. We're going to get Incinerated farm down and unfortunately take the loss. Heading into the next battle, Machamp into the big thick boy. The opponent safe switches into Excadrill and they are completely core broken. Or at least they would be if we had counter. Boston tanks the Drill Run. He's actually baiting with the Stone Edge. Stone Edge probably forces a Protect Shield. The opponent actually don't shield. What is going on? It was only a matter of time before I got completely lost in commentary. The opponent survived the Stone Edge and managed to take back switch. Boston sends out Sonic. Sonic got the Powder Snow farm down and out comes Snorlax. Most Snorlax don't have superpower, but I don't think we fancy risking it. So Boston pivots out into Ampharos. The opponent invested a Protect Shield. So So they must be weak in the back, maybe a Garchomp or Togekiss, as we've seen Togekiss in pretty much almost every battle. Boston finally invests the Protect Shield, blocking the incoming Body Slam. He's then looking to vamp up his attack with a Trailblaze. Trailblaze forces the Protect Shield. What the heck is in the back? Togekiss would make sense, as both Ampharos and Sonic have a favourable matchup. We fire off the boosted Brutal Swing. Brutal Swing doesn't quite knock out the opponent, then reveals it is the fluffy little Cloud, and Sonic is now tasked to clean up with one Protect Shield to hide behind. Boston farms up, fires off the Ice Punch. Ice Punch doesn't quite knock out, but Boston can now easily shield out the incoming Ancient Power. I don't believe Snorlax has a move, so we can Powder Snow farm all the way down Leaf with the Drill Run. Does Snorlax have a move? They do not, and Drill Run is going to be all she wrote. GG's, and thanks for playing. And unfortunately, that is going to draw to a close. Probably my favourite ever shoutcast. That was so much fun. Getting to shoutcast some insane spice and some crazy movesets. Huge shout out to xboston as always. I was actually chatting with Boston the other day. He was really frustrated at his elo. Of course, you can see Boston, a very talented trainer who has hit legend in the past. However, when you're on these levels of spice, you play at such a huge disadvantage compared to your competitors. So ranking up when you're running spice shouldn't really be the main goal. The main goal should be having fun. After all, what do we all play a game for? It's probably to escape reality and have some fun. Of course, you do see numerous trainers, a lot less skilled than Boston, hitting legend. But if you're going to hit it with Bastiodon, Victreebel and Wigglytuff, are you really that skilled? Is it a flex? I think not. That's all I've got to say, really. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you like your battles featured on my channel, a link to a battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching. And I'll see you all in the next one.